Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. It has been 6 months since I graduated with a bachelor's in aerospace engineering. The point of this video is to talk about the period of your life right after you graduate from college. If you are also a fellow grad, then you may have experienced something similar to me. We are learning new things at a crazy fast rate. We're staying up super late at night, we're cramming, we're studying, we're taking these tests. We have one thing on our mind, one goal, and that is to graduate. Oftentimes, that goal at the very end is the only thing that's really keeping us going through all the struggles of college. It really resembles a sort of graph where X is time, Y is that building anticipation or anxiety. You're following it along, and gradually you get to the top. That's graduation. And it's there where you're handed your diploma and you receive congratulations from all your friends and family. If you're lucky, you get to walk at your graduation. I was not so lucky because of COVID, and that's what you've been working so hard to get to for all this time. And you get to the top and it feels amazing. You did it. You conquered undergrad. You conquered graduate school. You may have even gotten your PhD in the process. You made it through some awful professors. You even had some really awesome professors. You made some great friends. You stayed up way too late. You drank too much coffee. But you made it in the end. You get your reward. You get your commencement and diploma. For me personally, it felt like the culmination of so much hard work. And of course, after the social media posts died down, after I spent all the graduation money, and on the other side of that high point there, I personally noticed a kind of sharp dip in my own feeling of accomplishment and progress in my own life. You often spend so much time, focusing on the school material or making sure you get your resume built up properly, that you oftentimes don't think about what actually does happen after you graduate. The thing that your professors or society probably don't tell you after the time you graduate is that it's really hard. I personally spent the first few months after I graduated as a big ball of stress and anxiety. I spent way too long questioning my decisions after that graduation high had worn off and the reality set in that I needed to find a job. And don't get me wrong, long before I graduated, I was looking for a job. But a sort of existential crisis started to creep in at one point. I kept asking myself, okay, if I do get this first job, is it going to be the job that defines the rest of my career? And how do I even know that this job is the thing that I want to do? What if I choose the wrong job? Or probably worst of all, what if I get a job and I get in there and they realize I'm completely unqualified for the position and that I am a total fraud? Not to mention the expectations from family and social media for me to get a job. There comes a point where that graduation high does wear off and you'll find that the real world expects things from you, like money. The real world wants your money in the form of bills. Another thing I just completely was unprepared for was just how much time I suddenly had. Now, after I graduated, I still did have a part-time job at a grocery store, but that still didn't fill all of my time. And I spent, of course, a lot of time putting out resumes and interview prepping, but even then, I still had more time than I knew what to do with. I found that I had to find something to do just for the sake of my sanity. All this time I would normally be spending at a library or watching lectures, I suddenly had to myself. And it had been so long that I just had done something for myself. Another thing that I was just a little bit unprepared for was just how much the job search sucks. A lot of my friends were lucky enough to have a job lined up for when they did graduate. I was not that way. And it actually turned out that most of my friends didn't have a job when they graduate. I kind of think that there is a pressure to have a job before you graduate and that it's actually pretty normal to not have a job before you graduate. It personally took me about 2 months to get a job once I graduated. And I have friends who it took as long as 8 months to get a job. I've just become a believer that there is no harder job to get than one when you're fresh out of college. And why is that? It's because you lack extensive experience, because you don't really have very many interview skills, and this is probably the first time you've actually done this. Not to mention, all of these jobs that you may get an interview to and you think you do great in the interview, and come to find out 2 weeks later you get that rejection letter, or even worse, you get ghosted and you don't hear anything back from them. That's always great. It really sucks because as humans and As social media makes it so easy to do, we compare ourselves to our friends who have these awesome jobs that they announce on Facebook or LinkedIn. And you wonder to yourself, man, how come I don't have a job? What am I doing wrong? Nothing can really prepare you for this. For so long, you've had this identity about yourself that you're a student, that you are a learner. And suddenly that thing that was such a huge part of your life has ended. And you're left just trying to figure out how to be a person again. How to be an adult. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I know I've gotten very depressing, very dark and sad. I just wanted to do my best to convey exactly how I was feeling after I graduated. Just to put it into words for you so that if you are also feeling this, then you can know that you're not alone. Or to just simply give you a heads up to what could happen. All right, now that I have all the doom and gloom out of the way, I'm here to tell you that on the other side of this existential crisis lies something beautiful. What lies there is a new version of yourself that has cultivated an appreciation or even a love of learning. After all, a commencement doesn't mean ending, it means a beginning. And interestingly enough, life just happens to be a pretty good teacher. Don't get me wrong, it's oftentimes very brutal and unforgiving, but an excellent teacher nonetheless. When you finally do get your first job, and you will, just patience, it will happen, you'll realize that, and if you haven't realized it already, you don't know anything. The real learning starts now. I know that college does get a bad rep for not teaching things that students will need in the real world. I mean, I have personally experienced this and I've done my own fair share of complaining. But there is one fundamental thing that college does teach us, and that is how to learn. On the subject of graduation, Neil deGrasse Tyson says this: "I now have a curiosity of all things I have yet to be exposed to, and I will now become a lifelong learner." Whew, okay, wow, that was a heavy one. I know a lot of it came off as very sad and depressing, but I really want to reiterate that on the other side, things do eventually get better. This period of post-graduation, it is just a transitional period. You suddenly have all this time, all this freedom, and it just so happens it is a perfect time to take a few risks. So I propose accepting that job that maybe quite isn't what you pictured in your mind, but you maybe see a little bit of opportunity there, or taking a little time off from the job search and going on a trip. It's actually what I did, and it actually turns out that once I finally let myself stop stressing about the job search, I actually got an interview for the current job that I have. I don't know if it was me just sending out the right type of energy or just taking a step back and letting things play out. Once I finally did let go of the control of my own situation, once I finally did get the chance to relax, I came back and I had that interview and I crushed it. Obviously, I mean, I got the job from it. All right, that's gonna be all for me today. I hope that it wasn't too dark and depressing. I just want you to know that it's perfectly normal to feel this way. All my friends that I've talked to have told me similar stories. You just gotta keep moving forward. Anyways, thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.